I'd like to congregation to repeat this after me. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
I'm at the right place.
I'm at the right place.
At the right time.
At the right time.
I'm at the right place.
I'm at the right place.
At the right time.
At the right time.
I'm at the right place.
I'm at the right place.
At the right time.
At the right time.
Hallelujah. 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 That was on my mind today. I'm at the right place, right time. When I got baptized, I said, this is where I want to be. I'm going to stick with my mama.
Shalom, shalom, Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Welcome to the Yahweh and Yahshua Speak television show. We are still in our series on cloven tongues of fire. Cloven tongues of fire. Let's go to Jude, or Jude, the first chapter. Cloven tongues of fire. Yahweh ordained two baptisms, one by water and one by fire. The water baptism is for salvation to escape the second death or lake of fire. Jude 1, and we're going to read verse 3, please.
Hallelujah.
Jude chapter 1 and verse 3. Beloved, when I gave all diligence to write unto you of the common salvation, it was needful for me to write unto you and exhort you that ye should earnestly contend for the faith which was once delivered unto the saints.
All right, so the water baptism is the common salvation. It says, beloved, when I gave all diligence to write unto you of the common Yahshua or salvation, it was needful for me to write unto you and to exhort you that you should earnestly contend for ha'imyanah, or earnestly fight for this. Don't let go of it once you have it, which was once delivered unto HaKadashim. That is the saints. We are saints. Revelation, the second chapter. Verse 11.
Hallelujah.
Revelation chapter 2 verse 11. He that hath an ear, let him hear what the Spirit saith unto the temples. He that overcometh shall not be hurt of the second death.
So this is what the water baptism got for us, that first baptism. And here is Yahweh saying, he that hath an ear, let him shema or hear what Haruach Amar saith unto the temples. He that overcometh shall not be hurt of the second Mavet, or the second death, which is the lake of fire. They will escape the lake of fire. That is, if they stay true to the commitment that they gave to Yahweh, that when they repented and got baptized and went in the water the first time. All right, let's go to Acts, the second chapter. So the fire baptism, the second baptism, is for winning the spiritual war for dominion on the earth.
Yes.
So there's two baptisms. The fire baptism is for winning the war of dominion on the earth.
Hallelujah. Praise on
You can make it to the kingdom, but you can live like you in the lake of fire on the earth.
I know, right?
If you don't know how to be victorious, and if you haven't gotten this second baptism,
Y'all right, bro.
and you don't understand how to use the fire that Yahweh gave you. Ruach HaKodesh was sent in the form of pillars of a cloud and fire in the Old Testament. It was sent in the form of cloven tongues of fire in the New Testament.
Hallelujah.
Acts, the second chapter. Let's start at verse 1, please.
Praise Him.
Acts chapter 2 and verse 1. And when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place.
Verse 2.
Verse 2. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting.
And let's read verse 3 too, please.
Verse 3. And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it sat upon each of them.
All right, so now this is looking at the Feast of Weeks, or Shavua, in Kadesh Barith, but there was also the Feast of Weeks that was instituted in the Old Testament. On this particular Feast of Weeks, it said, they called it Pentecost because that's the Greek Americanized word. It said they were all with one accord in one place. Who? Yahweh's very elect, which we are a part of. Then there came a sound from Shemayim, or heaven, that sounded like a rushing mighty wind, and it filled the bayit of the house where they were sitting. And there appeared unto them cloven tongues like as of fire, and it sat upon each of them. There were 120 of them in that upper room, so there were 120 fire cloven tongues looking, fire that was in the shape of a cloven tongue. And we're going to find out why Yahweh sent it in the shape of a cloven tongue. That's significant. It deals with the fact that we have to pay attention to our mouth.
Okay.
We have to control our mouth
Yes.
and start speaking spiritual language,
That's
dominion
it.
language,
Yes.
in order
Every day, all
for
day.
the fire to come out of our
Yes.
mouth. All right, go to Matthew, the 3rd chapter. So
Yeah,
fire
right,
baptism
like it is.
fills Yahweh's people, the very elect, with his power source,
Yes.
which is Ruach HaKodesh.
Hallelujah.
Matthew 3. That's what the fire baptism is about. It's about
Yes.
being filled with Yahweh's power source.
Hallelujah.
Matthew 3, verse 11.
Praise Yahweh.
Matthew chapter 3 and verse 11. I indeed baptize you with water unto repentance, but he that cometh after me is mightier than I, whose shoes I am not worthy to bear. He shall baptize you with the Ruach HaKodesh and with fire.
Now this is Yachanan. They call him Yachanan the Baptist, but he was part of the very elect. He said, I'm coming to baptize you with Mayim, or water, unto repentance. So that's the first baptism.
Right.
He said, but he that cometh after me, he's talking about Yahshua, Mashiach of Nazareth, he's mightier than I, whose shoes I'm not worthy to bear. He's going to baptize you with what? Ruach HaKodesh, Yahweh's power source, and with fire. So Ruach HaKodesh is fire.
Yeah.
So Bible verses about tongues have been misinterpreted, taken out of context, ignored, relegated to Sunday churches, credited to Roman Christianity and paganism.
Right.
But we're going to see that this is Yahweh's
Yes.
idea. Go to Ephesians, the 5th chapter. So just because the world doesn't understand
Right.
what's in the Bible doesn't mean that we should get in here and start throwing things out because they've misused it or misinterpreted. No, Yahweh's truth is Yahweh's truth.
That's like it is,
What
boy.
we do is we stand up when we say what's the right way.
That's
Like
it.
Yahweh said this was supposed to be.
Speaking on
Ephesians
what
5.
Thus says
Let's
Yahweh.
read verses 17 and 18.
Hallelujah.
Ephesians chapter 5 and verse 17. Wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding what the will of Yahweh is. Verse 18. And be not drunk with wine, wherein is excess, but be filled with the Spirit.
Now he says in Ephesians 5 and 17, wherefore be not unwise.
I know, right?
So we have the mind of Mashiach. We
Yes,
have
we do.
become wise. We're becoming wiser as we
Yes, we
study
do.
more about Yahweh's
Hallelujah.
word and study the truth of what he said.
The truth.
Just because somebody takes something and misuses it doesn't mean that we shouldn't get in here and investigate
I
and
know,
see what
right?
Yahweh actually said.
Yes.
He says, so don't be unwise, but being to understand what the will of Yahweh is. What's Yahweh's will? Don't be drunk with yain or wine, but be filled with Ruach HaKodesh.
Yes.
It says that's why Yahshua came, for the filling of Ruach HaKodesh. But we're going to find out that the people in the Old Testament is very elect. They were filled with the Ruach HaKodesh too. So they understood that.
Right.
So now, coming from the dark ages, we have to get back to the point where we understood what they understood.
Yes.
Let's go to Acts, the 3rd chapter. So he said, don't be unwise, but understand what Yahweh's perfect will is. That's to be filled with his Ruach HaKodesh. Not only be baptized with the first baptism, but the second. We're going to
Do
Acts,
this work he
the
called
3rd
us
chapter.
for.
So the scriptures show is Yahweh's perfect will and command to receive the fire baptism. He just said it in Ephesians 5 and 18. Don't be drunk with wine, be filled with the Ruach.
Right.
So with the fire baptism, the very elect experience continual refreshing. He says, don't be weary in well-doing. Well, you can get weary in well-doing in this pagan system, in the devil's world, without that filling. That's why he said, get filled with the Ruach so you can be refreshed. Acts 3, let's start at verse 18, please.
Hallelujah.
Acts chapter 3 and verse 18. But those things which Elohim before has showed by the mouth of all his prophets, that Mashiach should suffer, he has so fulfilled.
Yes.
Verse 19.
Verse 19. Repent ye therefore, and be converted, that your sins may be blotted out, when the times of refreshing shall come from the presence of Yahshua.
Yes.
From the presence of Yahweh. He sent Yahshua from his presence to refresh his people.
Yes.
He said those things which Elohim before had showed by the mouth of his Nabi. What were they talking about? Yahshua's coming. Yahshua's coming. Yahshua's coming.
Yeah.
That Mashiach should suffer, the Messiah, says he has so fulfilled. He's done that now.
Yes.
He said, repent ye therefore, go through the first baptism, and be converted that your hata'ah may be blotted out again, so you can escape the lake of fire. Now, what's after that? You don't immediately die after you go through the first baptism. You have to live this life.
Right.
All right? So it says, when the times of refreshing, you're supposed to be refreshed, shall come from the presence of Yahweh. How does the refreshing come from the presence of Yahweh? It comes in the form of Ruach HaKodesh. Yahshua said, when I go, I'm going to leave you another comforter. Yahshua comforts us, but he sent his power source, Ruach HaKodesh, to refresh and comfort us. All right, verse 20 to 21.
Acts chapter 3 and verse 20. And he shall send Yahshua Mashiach, which before was preached unto you. Verse 21. Whom the heaven must receive until the times of restitution of all things, which Elohim has spoken by the mouth of all his holy prophets since the world began.
So he keeps telling us the times of restitution, times of refreshing. We understand that man lost his dominion in the garden, but ever since then, Yahweh's been letting us know it's turning out good. I've got a ram in the bush. I've got another plan.
Hallelujah.
Everything is going to work out all right. I'm working it all right. Sacrifice these animals. Yahshua's coming to make everything new. It says, he shall send Yahshua Mashiach, the Messiah, which before was Yahra or preached unto you, whom Hashemayim, or the heaven must receive until the times of restitution of all things. Yahweh's about restoring. He's about bringing back. He's about making new. It says, which Elohim has amar or spoken by the mouth of all his Kadash Nabi, his holy prophets, since the world began. So that's what we're about, telling people what the good news is. That Yahweh has made everything all right. All right, let's go to Jude again, the first chapter. So you notice the word times is plural. It didn't just say a time of refreshing or a time of restitution. It's plural. The times of refreshing come from being in Yahweh's presence. When we're filled with his Ruach, then we can enter his presence uninterrupted by our thoughts or anything else. The fire baptism is to do that in the very elect's lives. And it's easy to tell those who are not receiving the fire baptism refreshing, because their joy seems to be gone. The devil runs over them and they do nothing about it.
I know, right?
They come to temples and you see that they're down. They talk about the good old days instead of expecting continual refreshing and restoration from Yahweh.
Tell like it is.
Jude, let's read 1 and 20.
Hallelujah.
Jude chapter 1 and verse 20. But ye, beloved, building up yourselves on your most holy faith, praying in the Ruach HaKodesh.
Now, there's a way that you can pray in Ruach HaKodesh.
I know, right?
But you, he's talking to the very elect, beloved, build up yourself. You have what's called a most Kadash immunah, a most holy immunah.
I know, right?
And the only way you can build yourself up, and you can do it, I can do it for me, you can do it for you. You can build yourself up on your most holy faith. By what? Palala, praying in Ruach HaKodesh. That's talking about speaking in tongues, with tongues. That's talking about being filled with the Ruach and speaking that holy language between you and Yahweh. See, it's time for us to find out what Yahweh said and take away that golden thing that they have given to Roman Christianity. That's not theirs. Matter of fact, they don't even know how to do it.
They do not.
All right? Yahweh teaches you how to do it.
Hallelujah.
He said, beloved, you build up yourself on your most holy faith by praying in Ruach HaKodesh. Verse 21.
Verse 21. Keep yourselves in the love of Elohim, looking for the mercy of our Master Yeshua Mashiach unto eternal life.
Yes.
So this is how you keep yourself in the Ahab or the love of Elohim.
I know, right?
And then you look for Hasid or the mercy of our Adon or our Master.
Yes.
Yahshua Mashiach unto eternal kind.
Yes.
You're praying and building yourself up on your most holy faith every time you pray to Yahweh. And you do this at home. You don't be at the temple and then everybody stand up and start saying a bunch of stuff. No, that's out of order. Yahweh tells you exactly how to do it in His Word. And we hopefully will get to some of it. But either way, we don't have to be on camera. And we'll finish the rest of this so we can all understand clearly how we can reach out to Yahweh and we can build ourselves up on our most holy faith.
Yes.
Let's go to Joel, the 2nd chapter. So the very elect, and I like this saying that Rafa Yahweh gave him, are always living at the right time. He says, I'm at the right place and I'm at the right time.
Yep.
So the very elect are always living at the right time to experience Yahweh's promise to refresh and restore them continually.
Yes.
That's the promise that Yahweh made to us as part of the very elect. Joel, the 2nd chapter. We can go through things, but putting our trust in Yahweh always brings restoration.
Yes, it does.
You're always refreshed.
Yes.
Joel 2 and verse 23.
Hallelujah.
Joel chapter 2 and verse 23. Be glad then, children of Zion, and rejoice in Yahweh your Elohim. For He hath given you the former rain moderately, and He will cause to come down for you the rain, the former rain and the latter rain in the first month.
24.
Verse 24. And the floors shall be full of wheat, and the fats shall overflow with wine and oil.
25.
Verse 25. And I will restore to you the years that the locust has eaten, the cankerworm and the caterpillar and the palmer worm, my great army which I sent among you.
You see how Yahweh is talking about how He restores, He gives you back? He said, be glad then, ye band of Zion, and Samak, rejoice in Yahweh your Elohim. For He's given you the former rain moderately, and He's going to cause to come down for you the rain, the former rain and the latter rain in the first month. He said, and then your floors, you're going to be abundantly supplied, full of wheat. The fat shall overflow with yain or wine and oil. He said, I'm going to restore to you the years. So whatever time you come to Yahweh, some people say, well, you know, I came to Yahweh late in life. There's no such thing as coming to Yahweh late in life. Yahweh restores just that much more and faster to you if you came to Him later.
Hallelujah.
I'm restoring to you the years, not just a few days, the years that the locusts have eaten.
Hallelujah.
Talk about Satan and his demons.
Right.
The cankerworm, the caterpillar, and the palmer worm. He says, my great army, which I sent among you. Verse 26 to 27.
Verse 26. And ye shall eat in plenty and be satisfied, and praise the name of Yahweh your Elohim, that hath dealt wondrously with you, and my people shall never be ashamed. Verse 27. And ye shall know that I am in the midst of Yisrael, and that I am Yahweh your Elohim, and none else, and my people shall never be ashamed.
So coming back to Yahweh, getting both those baptisms is about receiving this fullness, your full inheritance, the full restoration. He said, you shall eat in plenty and be satisfied.
Hallelujah.
And halal or praise Hashem, or the name of Yahweh your Elohim, that had dealt wondrously with you. That's what He's doing now, dealing wondrously with us.
Yes, He is.
And my am shall never be ashamed. And you shall yada or know that I'm in the midst of Yisrael, that I am Yahweh your Elohim and none else. He said, your Elohim. He's ours. He belongs to us. and my people shall never be ashamed.
Never.
Let's go to Genesis, the 1st chapter. So the devil may try to make the very elect's lives unrepairable, but Yahweh is the master restorer.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what he's tried to mess up
I know,
or
right?
has messed up. Yahweh is the master restorer.
Yes.
Everything is being repaired. Everything is being restored. Everything is being put back together again, so much that people can't even tell it was broken. That's how Yahweh does it.
How
The
he
very
rolls for
elect
us.
never let the devil tell them it's over.
I know,
Because
right?
That's
Yahweh
right.
Elohim is the master restorer.
Yes.
That's
Genesis
right.
1 and verse 2. He showed you right here
Hallelujah.
at the beginning of the book.
Right.
So whatever the devil tries to mess up,
Come on now.
I
Yes.
clean it up.
Yes, he does.
So you can't even tell he ever messed up.
I know, right?
Genesis
Thank
1
you,
and
yeah.
2.
Yes, he
Genesis
does.
chapter 1 and verse 2. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Ruach of Elohim moved upon the face of the
Here's
waters.
Yahweh doing what he does as the master restorer. He's
Right.
getting ready to make it pretty and make it all nice again and restore it. Go to Jeremiah 26 chapter. So Yahweh is looking for messes he can fix,
Right.
situations he can repair, hearts he can mend, because he's putting all things back together
Yes.
again. The fire baptism enables the very elect not only to receive that restoration, but to speak all the Yahweh commands.
Yes.
Jeremiah the 26th chapter. So the Ruach had mentioned how he sent the Ruach HaKodesh as those cloven tongues in the Kadosh Barit. So we see he's a master restorer. Now he's restoring the very elect's tongue.
Yes.
They used to have a mouth that only said what Yahweh said.
Right.
All right, Jeremiah 26 and verse 8.
Hallelujah.
Jeremiah chapter 26 and verse 8. Now it came to pass when Jeremiah had made an end of speaking all that Yahweh had commanded him to speak unto all the people, that the priests and the prophets and all the people took him, saying, Thou shalt surely die.
Now, Jeremiah was filled with Ruach HaKodesh.
Yeah.
It said it came to pass when Jeremiah had made an end of speaking all that Yahweh had
I know,
Sabbath
right?
commanded him to speak unto all the people. So, being filled with Ruach HaKodesh, he was able to speak what Yahweh commanded him to speak.
Yes.
Doesn't matter that it said the Kohena and the Nabi and all Ha'am said, you know what, you're going to die, saying what Yahweh said.
Right.
But that didn't matter.
Right.
All right. The point is that Yahweh was refreshing Jeremiah. Yahweh brought Jeremiah through, and we see what happened to the rest of Yisrael that didn't believe what Jeremiah was saying.
Right.
All right. Let's go to Jeremiah 43. We want to see how these cloven tongues was in the Nabi, the prophets, in the Zakim Barit,
Right,
Old
right.
Testament. Jeremiah 43 and verse 1.
Hallelujah.
Jeremiah chapter 43 and verse 1. And it came to pass that when Jeremiah had made an end of speaking unto all the people all the words of Yahweh their Elohim, for which Yahweh their Elohim has sent him to them, even all these words.
So you see again now, Yahweh wants the very elect's tongue to be saying what he tells them
Yes.
to say. It came to pass that when Jeremiah had made an end of speaking unto the people all Hadabarim, or the words of Yahweh their Elohim, which Yahweh their Elohim has sent him to them, even all these words. That's why he woke us up. That's why we got the first baptism, and that's why now we have the second baptism. So we can stand up and speak unto the people all the words that Yahweh tells us to
Thus
speak.
says Yahweh.
Go to Matthew 18.
Genesis to Revelation.
Yahweh has a plan, and he's working his plan.
It is.
And he needs some spokespeople that will stand up and say what
Holla,
he's telling
Yahweh.
them to say. Matthew 18. So Yahweh finalized the two baptisms in the New Testament. And especially how the fire baptism causes boldness of speech.
Yes.
It causes boldness of speech and agreement with doing Yahweh's will
That's
on the earth.
That's it.
Matthew 18 and verse 19.
Hallelujah.
Matthew chapter 18 and verse 19. Again, I say unto you, that if two of you shall agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask, it shall be done for them of my Abba which is in heaven.
All right, now this is not talking about some worldly thing.
I know,
This
right?
is not talking about some carnal thing.
Right.
This is talking about what Yahweh said in His Word. When you're filled with the Ruach, then two of you stand up and you agree about what Yahweh said in His Word. He says, I'm telling you, this is spiritual law now. When you're filled with the fire, when two of you agree on earth as touching anything that they shall ask that's in my word, not trying to talk Yahweh into something that He hasn't given us. What Yahweh wants to get to us is to understand what He's given us and to show us the way to receive it. It's not that He hasn't given it. We have to understand how to receive it and to come together and stand in agreement and say, thank you, Father Yahweh. We believe we receive that and stand on it. He said, it shall be done for them of my Abba, which is in Shemayim. He's already done it. Yahshua's already done it. Now He's showing us how to stand up and receive it. All right, Acts the 4th chapter. With that fire baptism, then you can come together with somebody else that has that fire baptism. And you can get it done for Yahweh.
It's done.
On the earth. Acts the 4th chapter. Let's read verse 31.
Hallelujah.
Acts chapter 4 and verse 31. And when they had prayed, the place was shaken where they were assembled together. And they were all filled with the Ruach HaKodesh. And they spake the word of Elohim with boldness.
All right, so you see here's another example. We read in Acts the 2nd chapter where they were filled with Ruach HaKodesh. Now here we are in the 4th chapter. It says, when they had palal, or prayed, the place was shaken where they were assembled together, and they were all filled. This is talking about the very elect. This is talking about Yahweh's people.
Right.
These are not Roman Christians. This is Yahweh's people, the very elect. These are Hebrews, spiritual Hebrew Israelites. They were all filled with Ruach HaKodesh, and they amar spake Hadabar, or the word of Elohim, with boldness. Yahweh wants us to speak His word with boldness. That fire makes you be bold.
Yes.
And you can stand up and be bold, because why? You're saying what Yahweh's telling you to say.
Yahweh.
All right, Acts the 9th chapter. And we want to read verse 17.
Hallelujah.
Acts chapter 9 and verse 17. And Ananias went his way and entered into the house, and putting his hands on him said, Brother Shaul, Yahshua, Yahweh, even Yahshua, that appeared unto thee in the way as thou camest, hath sent me that thou mightest receive thy sight and be filled with the Ruach Kodesh.
All right, so now if you understand about Brother Shaul, so-called Paul, he was killing the very elect.
Right.
All right, so this is after he got blinded on the road to Damascus, and he was making his conversion into being, he was a natural Yisrael. All right, but he wasn't spiritual Yisrael.
Nope.
So now Yahweh sent this man Ananias unto Shaul, and he didn't want to go because he said, hey, this man he's killing the very elect. I don't want to. All right, but he went his way. He entered into Habayit, or the house, and putting his hands on him, Amar said, Ak Shaul, Adon, or the master, even Yahshua, that appeared unto thee in the way as thou camest, has sent me, that thou mightest receive thy sight and be filled with Ruach HaKodesh. Why? Because Shaul needed to talk right. He needed to be right. He needed the fire.
Right.
He had the water baptism, but he needed that fire baptism so he could get his head on straight and see who Yahweh really was and who Yahshua really was. All right? But be filled with Ruach HaKodesh. All right? Let's go to Acts the 13th chapter. So we see this is important. This is,
yes, it is.
These are not isolated incidents. Yahweh had His Ruach throughout the whole Bible. And His people had the fire. Acts 13 and 9.
Hallelujah.
Acts chapter 13 and verse 9. Then Shaul, who also is called Paul, filled with Ruach HaKodesh, set his eyes on him.
So now we see Shaul in chapter 13. He's going now and walking the walk, the straight and narrow path, doing what Yahweh is telling him to do. But it says he's filled with Ruach HaKodesh. And he set his eyes on this man and is about to perform a miracle. Let's go to Ecclesiastes, the 5th chapter. So Ruach HaKodesh was sent in the form of cloven tongues of fire on Shavuot, the Feast of Weeks or Pentecost, to change Yahweh's very elect's speaking pattern.
Yes, it's a must.
Back to Yahweh's righteous way of speaking.
It's a must.
There's a righteous way of speaking and there's a devilish way of speaking. Ecclesiastes, the 5th chapter. So he sent cloven tongues of fire to change the very elect's speaking pattern back to righteousness. Ecclesiastes 5, let's read verse 6.
Hallelujah.
Ecclesiastes chapter 5 and verse 6. Suffer not thy mouth to cause thy flesh to sin, neither say thou before the angel that it was an error. Wherefore should Elohim be angry at thy voice and destroy the work of thy hands?
All right, so now he's saying, don't allow. That's suffer not mean, don't let your mouth cause your flesh to hata or sin. And my people are from South Carolina, and my grandmother used to say, don't write a check that your behind can't cash. Right? This is right here. Don't let your mouth cause your flesh to hata. In other words, you let something come out of your mouth, then you're gonna bring it back on yourself, depending on whether you're speaking like the devil or speaking like Yahweh. It says, and don't amar or say thou before the malak. What malak is that? Each of us has a personal malak or personal angel. The world calls them guardian angel. All we understand is that from the word, there's an angel that was assigned to us from birth until this whole life. I have an angel, and each one of you has an angel. It's a man. Don't think about no little baby or nothing. It's a man, all right? And that angel's been assigned to you, so don't be speaking devilish words in front of the angel and saying that it was an error. Say, wherefore should Elohim see Yahweh's going to get angry with you at your voice? Why? Because your voice is not saying righteous words. You got the fire now, so you can train that tongue, and it's going to have to be trained. He said, don't make Elohim angry at your voice and destroy the work of your hands. Let's go to Isaiah the 6th chapter. So the very elect all come to understand they need help speaking and understanding right. We all need help.
Yes, so much.
And we're arrogant, ignorant somebody if we come to this word and think that we don't need help speaking and understanding right. And you're behind going to be casting some checks that you wish that you had never written with your mouth. Isaiah 6, let's start at verse 5.
Hallelujah.
Isaiah 6 and verse 5. Then said I, woe is me, for I am undone, because I am a man of unclean lips, and I dwell in the midst of a people of unclean lips. For my eyes have seen the King, Yahweh Shabbat.
All right, now here is this very elect man, Yahshua.
I know, right?
So all the very elect understand that they need help speaking. They come to understand that. And they come to understand they got to learn how to speak right. Yahshua says, woe is me, I'm undone. I'm a man of unclean lips. Not only that, but I'm living in the midst of a people of unclean lips. In the midst of people that think that they can open their mouth, whatever they can open their mouth. Matter of fact, they think when they get to a certain age, the devil has told them, then you can say whatever you want as much as you want. You understand? In an ignorant mind, that's where those words come from, not knowing Yahweh. He said, because I'm in the middle of a people of unclean lips, and my eyes have seen HaMelech.
Yes.
Yahweh Sabaoth.
Yes.
All right. So he realized, hey, I'm in the presence of Yahweh and Yahshua. I gotta learn how to talk right and speak right.
Amen.
All right. I'm lacking in this area. When you're the very elect and you got the fire, Yahweh opened your eyes up and let you know, hey, you got to come with it.
I know, right?
Read verse 6 to 8. 6 to 8.
Okay. Verse 6. And then flew one of the seraphims unto me, having a live coal in his hand, which he had taken with the tongs from off the altar. Verse 7. And he laid it upon my mouth and said, Lo, this hath touched thy lips, and thy iniquity is taken away, and thy sin purged. Verse 8. Also I heard the voice of Yahweh saying, Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? Then said I, Here am I, send me.
All right, so now
Hallelujah.
this angel, this seraphim actually did take this live coal in this vision that Yahshua was seeing, and he came in with the tongs from off the altar, like you know with the barbecue grill. You take it. He took this coal, he laid it on Yahshua's mouth, and he said, all right, this has touched your lips, your iniquity is taken away, and your hata'ah is purged. In other words, you have the fire now.
Yes.
You can speak right.
Yes.
It says, also I Shema heard the voice of Yahweh saying,
I know, right?
Whom shall I send, and who will go for us? Then Yahshua said, Here am I.
Yes.
Send me.
Hallelujah.
I'm ready now because I'm hearing what you're telling me, and I'm going to stand up and say your words. I'm going to say exactly what you tell me to say.
I know, right?
All right, Matthew 13. That's what Yahweh wants.
Yes.
That's what he needs. The world will tell you, oh, it's wrong to be a yes man and yes woman. No, it's Yahweh's perfect will to be a yes man and a yes woman. Saying what he says. Matthew 13 and verse 13.
Hallelujah.
Matthew chapter 13 and verse 13. Wherefore speak I to them in parables, because they see not, and hearing they hear not, neither do they understand.
So when you have the fire, when you got both baptisms, Yahshua can speak to you in parables, and then you understand what he's saying.
Yes.
But he said, that's why I'm speaking or marring to them in parables. Why? Because Yahweh don't want everybody to understand.
Right, right.
He's in an undercover mission.
Right.
All right? You're in a secret mission here on the earth.
Yes.
He said, seeing they see not, hearing they hear not, and they don't understand.
And they don't.
Why? Because they haven't gone through those two baptisms,
No,
the
they
water
haven't.
and the fire. Let's go to 1 Peter, the 2nd chapter. So the very elect know they need to get the guile, which is the devil's loser language,
Right, right.
out of their mouths.
It's a must.
1 Peter 2. The very elect know they need to get the devil's loser language out of their mouth. 1 Peter 2. Start at verse 21 and
Hallelujah.
read 21 to 23, please.
1 Peter chapter 2 and verse 21. For even hereunto were ye called, because Mashiach also suffered for us, leaving us an example that ye should follow his steps.
Yes.
Verse 22. Who did no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth. Verse 23. Who, when he was reviled, reviled not again. When he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judges righteously.
Hallelujah.
So you see Yahshua's example. It says, for even hereunto were you called to follow after Mashiach. Because Mashiach also suffered for us, leaving us an example.
Yes.
What's an example? Something you're supposed to model after.
Right, right.
That you should follow his steps.
Yes.
Who did no hata'ah, no sin, neither was guile found in his mouth.
Nothing.
So he knew how to talk right. It says, when he was reviled, when somebody came on him, he didn't come back on him.
Right.
And they got this thing in the dead Shemite community, or playing the dozens, and I think what the main person they talk about it is the mothers, and then whoever can up one and really say something bad about somebody's mother or whatever. I don't know if they did that with the father or not, but I know they used to call that playing the dozens. But here Yahshua is saying, hey, when somebody came against him, he didn't try to come back and up them with another one.
No, you did.
All right? When he suffered, he didn't come back threatening them, but committed himself to him, who Yahweh that judges Sadiq or righteously.
Hallelujah.
So the English word guile is the Greek word found in Blue Letter Bible number 1388. Thayer's Greek lexicon defines guile as to catch with a bait, to speak deceitfully, to speak with craft, to speak to try to snare or entrap. Psalms 34.
Yep.
He said, get that up out of your mouth. That's devilish loser language.
Yes.
Psalms 34. And that's all we know before we come to Yahweh.
That's it.
Psalms 34. And Yahweh's going to show us if we don't get that fire and let the fire train us,
I know, right? Burn all that
that's
down.
all we'll ever talk like. We will only speak deceitfully. Psalms 34 verse 13.
Hallelujah.
Psalms chapter 34 and verse 13. Keep thy tongue from evil and thy lips from speaking guile.
He's saying, I don't do that for you, you do that for yourself.
That's it.
Yahweh doesn't do that for you, you do it for
That's
yourself.
right.
He said, keep, Shamar, you keep your tongue. I keep my tongue from from evil. And my lips from speaking guile, speaking deceitfully, speaking to try to trap somebody with what I'm saying one thing but meaning another.
Right.
Speaking like the devil. Let's go to 1 Peter, the 3rd chapter. So in the Old Testament Hebrew, the English word guile is the word mirmah. That's M-I-R-M-A-H. Found at Blue Letter Bible number 4820. Jacinius Hebrew Chaldee Lexicon defines guile as being from the root word meaning to deceive. It means to use fraud when you speak. It's a fraudulent man.
It is.
Fraudulent weights. It's speaking words that are made to deceive using deceptive scales. It's riches gained by fraud. 1 Peter, the 3rd chapter. That's the devil's loser language.
Right, right.
And that's all 99.99999% of the people that you run into speak.
Yep.
Including Yahweh's people.
I know, right?
1 Peter 3 and verse 10.
Hallelujah.
1 Peter chapter 3 and verse 10. But the day of Yahweh will come as a thief in the night.
Wait, hang on. I have something else.
Oh, I got set. Oh, I'm sorry.
All right,
Second
she
Peter.
ain't on
Sorry.
it.
All right. Well, he's that will. Okay, I got it now. 1 Peter 3, chapter 3 and verse 10. For he that will love life and see good days, let him refrain his tongue from evil and his lips that they speak no guile.
Ooh, so see, look, what we say affects the life that we live. He that would have Kaya love life and see told days, good days. So you see people talking about, yeah, I had a bad day. What have you been saying?
I know, right?
It has to do with your mouth.
Right.
Whether you're speaking that devil loser language. He that will love life and see good days, let him refrain, control his tongue from evil. So there's a right way to speak and there's a wrong way to speak.
Yes, it is.
And stop his lips that they don't speak any guile. They don't speak deceitfully. Yahweh says, say what you mean and mean what you say. Let your yes be yes and your no, no.
All right.
And anything that falls short of that is sin, straight up and down.
Right.
All right, go to James, the 3rd chapter.
Praise the mighty Yah.
And it's a process.
Yes,
James,
it is.
the 3rd chapter. Because we've been entrenched
I know,
to speak
right?
like the devil.
I know, right?
James 3 and verse 2.
Hallelujah.
James chapter 3 and verse 2. For in many things we oft offend all. If any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man, and able also to bridle the whole body.
Yes.
All right, so you see how crucial this
Yes.
is. That's why he sent the Ruach in the form of cloven tongues of fire. It says, in many things we all offend. If any Adam or man offend not in dabar or word, the same is a mature Adam or man. The same thing, same one is a spiritual person that's walking this spiritual walk. And able also to control his whole body.
Yep.
He can have his life in order. He can get things done.
Hallelujah.
Once he gets his mouth under control.
Yes.
The English word offend is the Greek word found in Blue Letter Bible number 4417. Vine's Expository Dictionary of New Testament Words defines offend as to cause to stumble. To stumble in the sense with moral significance.
Okay.
To cause to fall. So in the New Testament, Ruach was sent in the form of cloven tongues to clue the very elect into the fact that seeing their spiritual need to master their speaking is something critical
Yes,
that
it
they
is.
have to address.
Yes, it is.
Skip down to verse 13.
Hallelujah.
James chapter 3 and verse 13. Who is a wise man and endued with knowledge among you? Let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom.
Yes.
Now, this is the same thing he
Yes.
asked about receiving the Ruach. Don't be drunk with wine. Who's wise among you? But be filled with the Ruach HaKodesh. He's saying again, who is a kakam Adam, a wise man? Endued with yada or knowledge among you. Talking about understanding what Yahweh wants to be done in them. Let him show out of a told conversation, talking about his lifestyle and his works with meekness of kokma,
Yes.
meekness of wisdom. So Yahweh connected for the very elect, giving them back the dominion through speaking right.
Yes.
Thayer's Greek lexicon defines the English word offend with the Greek word found in Blue Letter Bible number 4417, meaning cause to stumble, to trip, to err, to make a mistake, to sin in many ways, to sin against, to sin in word or speech, to fall into misery, to become wretched, to receive the loss of salvation. Why? Because the words that people are saying to themselves are the devil's losing language.
Yep.
They're not standing up saying the good news that
Y'all
Yahweh
right,
said.
right.
They're standing up and saying exactly what the devil
I
said.
know, right?
Lying on Yahweh and lying to themselves.
I know, right?
That's why they become wretched and miserable and lose their salvation. All right, we're in James the 3rd chapter. We want to go up to verse 3. So the
Hallelujah.
connection Yahweh gave of the second baptism, the fire baptism, training of the tongue. See, that's how our tongue gets trained with the fire baptism.
Right.
Is compared to bits in horses' mouths
Okay.
and small helms on big ships.
Yep.
So bits refer to control of the whole body.
Yeah.
All right, James 3, let's read verses 3 and 4.
Praise Yahweh.
James chapter 3 and verse 3. Behold, we put bits in the horse's mouth, that they may obey us, and we turn about their whole body. Verse 4. Behold, also the ships, which, though they be so great, and are driven of fierce winds, yet are they turned about with a very small helm, whithersoever the governor listeth.
All right, so he's giving the example. They put bits in the horse's mouth so that they will obey the man and turn about their whole body. And then he said, in ships, although they're big giant ships, it says they're turned about with a very small rudder or a very small helm, whichever way the captain wants the ship go. So the English word bits is the Greek word found in Blue Letter Bible number 5469. Vine's Expository Dictionary of New Testament Words defines bits as a bridle and a halter. And the bridle was a loop on the halter cord passed round the lower jaw of the horse. And I was looking at some picture, and it goes right through just like this, and then it comes up to their head. Go to Psalms 32. But it's got cuttings right there on the corners of their mouth. That's why I call it a bit, because it'll bite into their mouth if they don't turn when the rider turns the way that he wants them to go. Psalm 32, and it will start bleeding. And let's read verses 8 to 9.
Hallelujah.
Psalms chapter 32 and verse 8. I will instruct thee and teach thee in the way which thou shalt go. I will guide thee with my eye. Verse 9. Be ye not as the horse or as the mule, which have no understanding, whose mouth must be held in with bit and bridle, lest they come near unto thee.
Now here's Yahweh, and he's saying the same thing that Yahweh or James said in the 3rd chapter in Psalms. He says, I will musar thee, instruct thee, and yara thee, or teach thee in the way which you shall go.
Yes.
I will guide thee with mine eye. He's saying, look, I'm leading you, I'm guiding you, I'm instructing you. Be not as the horse or as the mule, which have no being or understanding, whose mouth must be held in with a bit and a bridle, to make them go the way that they're supposed to go. He's saying, don't be like those dumb beasts.
Right.
All right?
Amen.
Lest they come near unto thee. He's saying, don't be like that. Go to Psalms 141. So the horse rider pulls the bit to clue the horse in. The bit bites into the horse's mouth and makes the horse turn his head and move in the direction the rider pulls to stop the pain of the bit from digging into the corner of his mouth. The horse then goes into the direction the rider wants. Ruach HaKodesh is the bit in the very elect's mouth.
Yes.
Psalms 141. Just like he put that coal on Yahshwa's tongue. Got the fire on your tongue.
Yes.
Psalms 141. It's just a matter of what are you going to do with it. Verse 3.
Hallelujah.
Psalms chapter 141 and verse 3. Set a watch, O Yahweh, before my mouth. Keep the door of my lips.
Well, he already did. Ruach HaKodesh. He set a watch. Set a watch, O Yahweh, before my mouth. Shamar, keep the door of my lips. Well, we have to cooperate.
Got right?
We got the bit. Now we have to cooperate. Now we have to get some understanding about how to let Ruach HaKodesh train our tongues. Go to Acts, the 27th chapter. So the fire baptism's training of the tongue is compared to what small helms do to big ships. The English word helm is a Greek word found at Blue Letter Bible number 4079. Vine's Expository Dictionary of New Testament Words defines helm as a rudder akin to the blade of an oar, the bands of the rudders. Helms are small steering paddles, and 2 helms were used as rudders in ancient ships. Acts 27, let's start at verse 37.
Hallelujah.
And you can read to 40.
Acts chapter 27 verse 37. And we were all in one, and we were in all in the ship 260 souls.
So let me say something. So in this ship now, it was 203 score, that's 60 and 16. 276 people. This is a big ship. All right, verse 38.
Verse 38. And when they had eaten enough, they lightened the ship and cast out the wheat into the sea. Verse 39. And when it was day, they knew not the land, but they discovered a certain creek with a shore, into the which they were minded, if it were possible, to thrust in the ship. Verse 40. And when they had taken up the anchors, they committed themselves unto the sea, and loosed the rubber bands, and hoisted up the mainsail to the wind, and made towards shore.
All right, the rudder bands. Rudder, R-U-D-D-E-R bands, verse 40.
Oh, rudder bands, okay.
Yes. So we see this was a big ship with 276 people on it. Then they got into a little storm, and then they were saying, okay, verse 39, they wanted to send the ship in a certain direction. Says then when they took up the anchors, they committed themselves to the sea, and they loosed these helms, these little rudders, these little bitty things to steer the ship, and hoisted up the mainsail to the wind, and then they made it toward the shore. So this little thing was guiding this big ship, just like Ruach HaKodesh is guiding us. All right, let's go to James, the 3rd chapter again. So even though very small, the helms changed the direction of that ship and other ships. The very elect's tongues are trained to agree with speaking Yahweh's words.
Yes.
They have to be trained to
Yes,
agree
it
with
does.
speaking Yahweh's words. Other than that, they'll just go back into remote control and be speaking the same loser language that they've been speaking before they knew Yahweh.
Right.
The words the very elect say are to confirm the dominion Mashiach returned back to them with
That's
salvation.
it.
We've been given back the dominion.
Yes, we have.
The words we say are to confirm that we have been given back the
Hallelujah.
dominion.
Hallelujah. Yes.
Not acting like Yahweh needs to do something else.
I know,
Yahshua
right?
is not coming back to die again. He died, he did everything he was supposed to do.
Yes.
He gave us everything we need and
Hallelujah.
more.
Perfect. It was perfect.
Now it's up to us to understand what we have and to agree with what we have. James 3, let's start at verse 9.
Hallelujah.
James chapter 3 and verse 9. Therewith bless we Elohim, even the Father, and therewith curse we men, which are made after the similitude of Elohim.
Verse 10.
Verse 10. Out of the same mouth proceeded blessing and cursing. My brethren, these things ought not so to be.
Now this is where we come to Yahweh, and Yahweh gets us out of that back and forth, that seesaw
Right,
thing.
right.
Says, therewith barak we Elohim, even ha-Abba the Father, therewith curse we men, Adam, which are made after the similitude of Adam. Confusion, loser language.
Right.
Talking good, talking bad.
Right.
Out of the same mouth proceeded barakah and cursing, blessing and cursing. My ark, he's talking to the very elect. These things ought not so to be. We have to see that we have to change.
Right.
All right, 11 and 12.
James chapter 3 and verse 11. Doth the fountain send forth at the same place sweet water and bitter? Verse 12. Can a fig tree, my brethren, bear olive berries, either a vine figs? So can no fountain both yield salt water and fresh.
He's saying that's confusion.
Right.
He wants the very elect to see it and let the Ruach HaKodesh train them so they can be straight, so they can send forth only sweet water. It says fountains don't send forth in the same place sweet water and bitter.
Right.
The fig tree doesn't bring olive berries. He says, so can no fountain yield both salt and fresh. Like Yahweh said in Revelation, hot or cold, hot or cold.
Right.
He said, you can't be some tiny. You're this way or you're that way. Either you're Yahweh's child and you're going to let him deal with you or you're not.
I like the congregation to repeat this after me. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
I'm at the right place
I'm at the right place.
at the right time.
At the right time.
I'm at the right place
I'm at the right place.
at the right time.
At the right time.
I'm at the right place
I'm at the right place.
at the right time.
At the right time.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
That was on my mind today. I'm at the right place at the right time. When I got baptized, I said, this is where I won't be. I'm going to stick to my promise.